Hi, this is Scott Greenya from Fairfax, Vermont, also known as Scotty DQ, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. It's the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. Broadcasting live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. It is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. And I am your program host, Greg Rigby. Happy to have you aboard here for the live fire barbecue and grilling show. If you want to jump in, more than happy to have you. Phone call 216-220-0966. If you would rather email the show, you can do that as well.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, all you have to do is know that it's the third Tuesday of the month, and that will bring a regular visit from BBQ Hall of Famer, prolific barbecue and grilling cookbook author, just to name a few accolades. Stephen Raichlen from BBQ Bible will be joining us, of course. And we have a number of things to talk about, Stephen. And we have a number of things to talk about with Stephen. Not the least of which might be some kind of Italian cattle that produces a succulent steak. Plus, much more. A lot of Facebook questions. Put that up yesterday. Got a lot of reaction back to that, so we will stream through them one by one, and I will ask Stephen your each and every question. I'm not going to censor, so if you put up a stupid question, I will say your name, and then I will ask that question, and we'll see how it goes. So Stephen Raichlen, first segment. Then at 9:35, I'll be talking with the Chief Marketing Officer of Operation Barbecue Relief. Certainly no surprise that, once again, hurricanes riddling the south and the east. The most recent, Hurricane Michael, and that was about a week or so out. And they have been setting up shop and feeding hot barbecue meals down there each and every day. So we'll get an update from David Marks on what the operation and deployment has been like out there in that Mexico Beach area. And we'll also talk about what the needs are right now of Operation Barbecue Relief. Certainly, it probably goes without saying that cash money is foremost on the list, but maybe there are some other things that they could be looking for, like human help and labor and all that stuff. So David Marks at 9:35, and then we'll roll into the second hour. And coming in the second hour, two guests, same company, first-timers to the show. And I think this year, well, I don't want to contradict myself too much, but this 2018 show season has been one that has, in a good way, been riddled with conversations with pit manufacturers. And I'm very excited to talk with these two gents, and they have been doing it a very long time, or at least the company has, 30-plus years. A name that is synonymous with offset and quality cookers, of course, coming out of Texas. That is Coy Christoffel and Ryan Zabroil. Ryan Zabroil. Ryan Zaboril from Pits and Spits. First timers, Ryan Zaboril and Coy Christoffel. So very much looking forward to talking with those guys. By the way, they're probably going to be a little bit more downtrodden because they scored last-second tickets to the Astros game, and I was just making my way downstairs, and somebody from Boston went grand salami in the top of the eighth. So that's like an 8-2 game when I left at that point. So it's going to take a titanic comeback from the Astros to go up 2-1. So we'll see what's happening with Ryan and Coy, but that's your lineup for this evening. Pits and Spits in the second hour, Operation Barbecue Relief in about a half an hour from now. Stephen Raichlen about 10 minutes from now. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Are you following me socially? You better be. Both Instagram and Twitter are the same handles at BBQ Central Show. And of course, if you're watching here on Facebook, you're already a fan of my Facebook page. But at Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show. If you want to find it, let me quickly follow up with you on the Bubba Burger contest. Still no winner. Once again, it has gotten by me for a personal reason this past week. Could be a personal reason this coming week, but I'm going to try and get to it. Don't worry. The gear is still here. More importantly, the voucher for free Bubba Burgers is still here, so I will get a winner. You will see that in its transparent state. Don't worry about it. And I will try to get that winner announced over the course of the weekend and then re-announce this coming, or in a week from now, the 23rd, I believe it will be. So, or the fourth Tuesday of the month. So that's the update for the Bubba Burgers. I have to rant about this just for the remainder of the Open, and then maybe I won't bring it up again until next segment. And I'm going to show you a picture of exactly what I'm talking about because I don't want anybody to lose sight here. So I apologize if you're getting this on podcast, but there's no other way for me to show you because you're listening audibly. But let me pull this picture up. All right. This is a beautiful steak, perfectly cooked, plated almost sexually, except for one thing. The steak is already cut, and I'm seeing it all over the place. Videos of people cooking steaks and then cutting the whole freaking thing in one fell swoop. More and more pictures of the same. What the hell are you people doing? This has to be just for the likes and just for the views. You want everyone to see what a freaking grill master you are. So this is what you're doing? In order to get the adulation you so deeply crave, you cut the whole steak up in one time? Great idea, except no one actually does that in real life. Are you telling me that at your house you cook your steak and then cut all of them up like that? Hell no, you don't. No one does that. I can tell you this. If I go to a prime steakhouse and they don't tell me in advance that they are going to cut my steak like that, that bitch is going back when it hits the table. There's no question about it. I know that you can grill a perfect steak. I know it's going to look perfect on the inside. There's no need for you to prove it to me by cutting that whole piece of steak up from front to back. If you are that worried about it, if you really need me and everybody else to see the fact that you have a handle on the grill, on the coals, on the temperature, you know when to pull it, you have your thermometer, you know everything about the grill. I get it. I get it. You really like your perfectly cooked steak. If you feel the need to press that down on me and some of your other followers on social media, do me the favor. Just take a swipe down the center of that steak, take the snapshot, and then upload. But please, for the love of beef, stop cutting the whole damn steak. Enough.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I mean, nobody's doing that. Show me roll video in your house, and you show me the normal human being that cooks steak and then takes it, like that porterhouse or T-bone or whatever the hell it was I was just showing you, sections out the tenderloin and the strip, cuts it all up, and then plates it back around the bone. Nobody's doing that. But nobody's doing it in their house. But more and more, they're doing it in restaurants. Don't do that to my steak, buddy. I want my whole beef. I want that whole thing together. I'm urging you with peace and love. Stop cutting the whole steak up. It's losing heat. John Dawson weighing in. Remps, this is your fault. They do that so they don't have to bring the Thermapen. John, touche. Touche. Hey, we've always believed that cooking outdoors should be easy because it can be, especially with the Monolith BBQ Guru Edition grill. The Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control, greater freedom with automatic temperature controls. Easily choose your cooking time and temperature and let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pit master. With minimal effort, you now have oven-like precision at the grill, and you can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. Now, if you already have a BBQ Guru controller and you purchase the Monolith, because it does have the fan built in, as I had just mentioned, you don't have to go buy a new controller. You can just hook that controller up to the fan and away you go. Now, if you'd like to upgrade that tech, certainly that is your prerogative. You can browse the website, bbqguru.com. Or, if you have any questions, please call 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. Ask all your questions, and they will make sure everything is answered. So when you place that order, when the box shows up, you're ready to rock and roll. All right, Stephen Raichlen coming up out of the break. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around, be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit as well as in the backyard by pitmasters and by people just like me. Visit butcherbbq.com and stock up now. Always trust your butcher. Hey, my first guest seen here the third Tuesday of each and every month, a 2015 BBQ Hall of Fame inductee, TV show host, a barbecue cooking class instructor, multiple-time author. Let's go ahead and welcome back to the show, Stephen Raichlen. Stephen, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous, Stephen. Always appreciate the time you make for the show. And a number of different places that I wanted to jump around this evening. The first of which, of course, everybody knows that at least one time during the year you do that Barbecue University at the Broadmoor, and it's a sweeping location. You do a lot of great cooking school stuff, but you did something, it was a week or two ago, called BBQ BootCamp a little further west. So just a brief recap of that, maybe.
Sure, this was a fun project. It was at the Alisal Guest Ranch and Resort in Solvang, California. If that name sounds familiar, well, that's where we taped the Project Smoke and Project Fire TV shows. So I returned to Solvang, to the Alisal, for this BBQ BootCamp, which was co-taught by the Alisal chef, Chef Anthony Endy, and we had several other local food experts. And for me, it was just fun being back at the Alisal when it was not 40 degrees out and I was trying to grill in shirt sleeves as though it was summer.
How many participants or how many students were enrolled in this camp?
I guess they had about 60 participants.
Wow.
Local chef Franco Stuni. There was a pastry chef. Quite different than BBQ University. You know, BBQ University is, I'd say, more intense, a little more focused. We've got, 40 different grills and smokers for people to use. And this was pretty much a grilling demonstration, barbecue demonstration at BBQ University, of course. People grill under my supervision, so it was a much more participatory. But it was fun to be back.
You know, one of your biggest fans also shows up there. Now, he's been to BBQ University a couple times, but I got this picture. Here's a Centralite Dennis Busso and a Stephen Raichlen right there.
Hey, Dennis,
I mean,
good to see you.
this guy is like, he's got to be like one of your biggest fans, I think.
He's a big fan, yeah. It's fun seeing him at Alisal. It's going to be fun back at BBQ University. But, it's sort of a big family. We get a lot, I don't know whether to call them repeats or recidivists, but we get a lot of people returning to BBQ University year after year, and that's fun for me because it's like a family reunion.
Stephen, the other project that you have going on right now is the book called The Brisket Chronicles. We talked a little bit about that a couple months ago, but how is that project moving along right now?
It is moving along splendidly. It's at what's called the first pages stage. That means that the manuscript has been submitted. It's been copy edited. The type has been set. The pages have been laid out. We're dropping in the photography. And it's time for me to go over it, word by word, line by line, page by page. Make sure everything makes sense, catch any repetitions of words you might not have meant to make. Make sure all the pictures line up, the captions line up. And this is really a big step because pretty soon it'll be ready to go to the printers.
Stephen Raichlen joining me here on the show as he does the third Tuesday each and every month. So we were going to be talking a little bit about steak tonight. I was talking to a buddy of mine who just got back from a tour of Italy. I believe he was visiting for anniversary. It was a destination place that him and his wife had wanted to get out to, and so they finally made that happen. Of course, he's a big foodie, big barbecue and grilling guy, and he sent me a picture of this thing called, and I apologize for any missteps here, but I believe it's called the Bistecca alla Fiorentina.
Bistecca alla Fiorentina,
right?
Which basically means steak in the style of Florence. And basically what it is a monster thick beef porterhouse steak that is grilled over charcoal. And if you're feeling fancy, you serve it with a drizzle of olive oil. Or if you're feeling more Spartan, like most Italians are, you just serve it with a sprinkle of salt.
And this is coming from the Chianina cattle, is that right?
That's actually pronounced the Chianina steer. And Chianina is one of the great classic beef breeds of Italy. Like many heirloom breeds, slowly disappearing because it's a very slow-growing steer. Doesn't produce nearly as much beef as quickly as a breed like the Black Angus. But you still find it in the Marche region and in Tuscany, and has a wonderful, mild, sweet, deep, luscious flavor. In fact, if any of your viewers are watching us in Italy, you may have seen my show, Stephen Raichlen Grills Italy, on Gambero Rosso, and we devoted an episode to Florence. We went with my favorite bistecca master First, we went to the butcher shop. We saw the whole sides of steers hanging, how the bistecca is cut, how it's grilled over charcoal. They have a very interesting technique, too. So it's a super, super thick steak, right? Maybe 3 inches thick.
Wow.
Conventional grilling on one side, then the other won't get it done to even Italian standards, which means still mooing in the center, but at least a little warm. So what they do after they brown both sides is they stand the steak up on end, and they let the heat get conducted through the T-bone to the meat to warm it up. They're serving at about 105 degrees internal temperature, so that's pretty rare by American standards.
Yeah, I mean, are you good with that? I mean, are you at least used to that, or is that still a little bit of a hurdle for you?
Hey, when in Florence, eat like the Florentines. Yeah, I'm good with it. It's such incredibly flavorful beef.
The picture that he sent me, and I know you were able to pull a look at that, looked like they took, the tenderloin part out and the strip part, and they cut it, and then they placed it back around the bone. I just did a 3 or 4 minute rant at the top of the open here of the show, and I'm wondering if we're not getting into this weirdo thing where restaurants, at least, and I do see it a lot with people on their social media when they cook steak, they're just taking the whole steak and they're just cutting it right up from the top to the bottom. You're seeing it in these high-end steak restaurants. Is this a trend that's starting to gain steam? Has it always been around? I know Peter Luger's has done it forever, but I haven't really seen it until the last 5 or 6 months where people are really cutting up the whole steak. To me, it seemed like it would go cold pretty quick.
Yeah, it's, somehow when they do it in Florence and they bring it to the table and they cut it to the table and it goes, right from the cutting board onto your plate, it works. But when they cut it up in the kitchen, then it has to sit under, on a pass table under a heat lamp and brought out. You're right. It just it cools down. So I like my steak that way when I'm in Italy, but I like a whole steak that I can cut up myself. Thank you, please, in the U.S.
I agree. Stephen Raichlen joining us here on the show. All right, so I put out the call to the Centralites 24 hours ago. If you had one question you could ask Stephen Raichlen, what would it be? And I got a laundry list of questions. Some ranging from absolutely credible, some ranging to absolutely ridiculous. Are you ready to answer all of these one by one?
Fire away.
All right, here we go. First one is from Chris Effa, and he says, where do all those beautiful high-end and pits go after you use them on the show?
Well, the super high-end expensive ones go back to the manufacturers, unless the manufacturer wants to donate them. And basically what we do after the shoot, a grill or two may go to thank a purveyor or supplier, but most of them go to the local PBS station where they are auctioned off as a fundraiser for PBS.
Question number 2 is from David Huff, and he says, what does it take for a grill master or a pit master or a chef to go from that position to a cooking personality? Is it luck, demeanor, looks, contacts? What gives?
Well, luck plays a big part. Hard work plays a big part. Being at the right place at the right time plays a big part. And I would say having something to say, having something new to say, and passion, passion and drive. Man, it takes a lot of persistence to make it happen, and a lot of rejections along the way. And you got to believe in yourself and what you want to do.
Stephen, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I've posed that question to you before, as far as when you were first coming out on television and it was, Barbecue U on PBS, and you had said, hey, when that camera first hit me when I was first getting into it, it was a really uncomfortable scenario for me, something that you had to work through. So you got to also be cognizant of, hey, you got to get all these things lined up. Oh, by the way, there's going to be a bunch of people looking at you, and you got to look into a camera and be comfortable.
Yes, and that is a very big part of the job, but you also got to be doing something at the same time. Your hands have to be moving. You have to be thinking that the camera is seeing a sequence that is different than your eyes are seeing the sequence, right? So when you're chopping, you're mixing, you're pouring, you're doing it the way the camera sees it. You got to move slowly so 3 cameras can follow you. One of those cameras focusing on an area that's roughly maybe 2 square inches. So if you just move your hands around, they'll lose you. There's a lot of moving parts go into television.
All right. Next question is from Mike Schilling, and he says, how does Guy Fieri get into the Barbecue Hall of Fame before Greg Rempe? By the way, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Any thoughts on that? By the way, Guy Fieri got into the Barbecue Hall of Fame before Stephen Raichlen, if we're pointing out truths here.
Well, there was one year when I was actually nominated a few years earlier than I got into it, but they chose to have the ceremony on Yom Kippur, which is the most sacred Jewish holiday and incidentally a holiday when we fast. So I had to turn it down that year. I don't know. He has better hair than I do.
And me, too. I think everybody has better hair than me, no doubt. Next question is from Jason Chance, and it is simply, how did your love of barbecue cooking start?
I think for me it was, look, I love the flavor of grilled food. I love the act of grilling. But I think for me it was kind of more intellectual. And it was, I've always been fascinated by the intersection of food and history and culture. And somehow they come together over barbecue, around live fire cooking in a way that is so deeper, more universal, more meaningful than any other method of cooking. Because if you think about it, if you have fire and you have food, you have barbecue. You don't need stoves, you don't need technology, you don't need cookware. And so I think I was just attracted by how primal and universal it was.
Were you also attracted to the fact that you were going to be able to write about it? I mean, obviously you probably didn't realize that you were going to have the success that Barbecue Bible ended up being, but being the literature major and having that love of writing and reading, something exciting about being able to write about that too?
Oh, absolutely. And, I wrote Barbecue Bible. I never thought while I was writing it would ever lead anywhere. I thought, I'll finish it, turn it in, then I'll write a noodle Bible afterwards, or I'll go into something else. But, I like to say barbecue, I didn't find barbecue, it found me. And it found me and grabbed onto me, and I've been hooked ever since.
All right, potentially loaded question here from John House. Last meal on death row, and by the way, you don't get to make the choice. I'm giving you option A or option B. A, boiled hot dogs. B, horse meat.
Horse meat, no question.
No question, yes. I like it.
No question. Well,
definitive.
Assuming they're going to grill it for me, okay? Because grilled horse meat is... that is a classic of Basilicata in southern Italy, and they do amazing things with it. And horse meat is delicious. It's a little sweeter than beef. It's got a very rich, satisfying flavor and mouthfeel. However, I probably just alienated about 3/4 of your viewers there.
Next question from Jeffrey Stone, and you do have a little bit of experience here with this. Best hurricane comfort food you have cooked on a charcoal grill. Jeff is actually asking from Ground Zero right near Mexico Beach.
Oh, man, I am so sorry, Jeff. It was undoubtedly one of the stews we made that says, your freezer will keep food cold for about maybe 24, 36 hours if you don't open the door. And then at that point, you got to do everything. So we set up a grill. All the neighbors brought whatever food they had that was thawing, and we just threw it in a big pot and made this fantastic stew. And fed the whole neighborhood. I'm really sorry for your loss. Hope you're there, and I hope FEMA and help get to you soon.
Next question is...
do you know if Operation Barbecue Rescue is on the way to that part of Florida?
Yeah, they've actually been deployed for the better part of a week, and I'm actually having David Marks from OBR on right after you, believe it or not. So
fantastic.
We'll
That's great. Well, thank
you
all for your good work, guys.
Larry Beasley is asking, other than mustard, what are some good binding sources for ribs or pork?
Ooh, okay. So you mean, I assume that means slathers.
Correct.
Well, my sort of big hot new slather that I'm using is a Korean condiment called gochujang. And it's a chili paste. It's kind of looks, like a rust red color. It's thick, it's garlicky, it's spicy, it's very salty, it's very umami flavored. And it's not that exotic anymore. I mean, Billy Durney uses it at Hometown Barbecue. So that's a good one. Another one that comes from Asia is Japanese miso. That is a paste of fermented soybeans or other grains. Also a terrific binding paste.
Larry, if you're asking for my 2 cents, I like Worcestershire sauce.
There you go. And you can buy powdered Worcestershire sauce, which is great to sprinkle on top of that mustard that you've applied as a base layer.
Absolutely. All right, next question from Mark Scheel. Favorite thing to eat, doesn't have to be grilled or barbecue.
Oh, gotta be Maryland steamed crabs. I grew up in Baltimore, and coming back to that last meal question, much as I think I would like a Texas brisket, it's gotta be Maryland steamed crabs.
Next question from Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q. What's your number one go-to outdoor cooking, grill, or smoker?
Oh, boy, that's a toughie. I use a Weber kettle a lot. When I'm cooking steaks, I have a Grillworks, a Grillworks wood-burning grill. Kalamazoo is always a pleasure to grill on. A hibachi. I mean, that's I'm trying to give all ends of the spectrum and all price ranges. But I think a kettle grill, it's pretty tough to beat a kettle grill. Big green egg too. If you're doing long, slow smokes or overnight smokes, that's a biggie.
Next question is from Eugene Apicella. Does one buy the latest and the greatest and try growing into it, or does one start out with a basic cooker and then trade up at a later date?
Really good question. Well, I would say, coming back to that kettle grill, if you can learn to cook well on a kettle grill, you can grill on anything. So you're learning charcoal management, you're learning direct and indirect grilling, you're learning smoking, heat control, tiered fire. That might be a good starting point. But if you're thinking about buying a new grill, you already have one, I always recommend buying more grill than you think you need, because that will stretch your creativity and you'll grow into it plenty quick.
Danny Baker's asking, can Stephen Raichlen make a great pasta plate?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in barbecue for 20 years. By the way, Greg, this is the 20th anniversary of Barbecue Bible this year.
Really? 20 years? Wow.
Yeah, but I had a good 20 years of writing about other food before that. I've written a couple. I wrote an Italian cookbook, and I have a new book coming out in Italy this spring in Italian from the Stephen Raichlen Grills Italy show. Love pasta.
All right. Next question from Dan Handy.
Oh, I got to tell you, by the way, one of my greatest mistakes ever was I had made like a spaghetti Alfredo, and I took it and I had leftover, and I put the cold congealed lump of noodles on the grill, grilled it over a direct hot fire, and the noodles got incredibly crispy and the sauce melted, and it was the most fabulous dish I'll never be able to reproduce again.
Really?
But, anybody wants to try that, that's pretty fun.
All right, so that's going to do it for the questions. I wanted to reserve a couple minutes here at the end to let you know that while Stephen Raichlen has already been inducted into the BBQ Hall of Fame, a month ago he was also inducted into the Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. So now, 2 times a Hall of Famer, and I wanted to leave you a minute or so, Stephen, to make any kind of speech or whatever you think would be appropriate at such a measured and momentous occasion.
Well, Greg, that is a great honor, and I will cherish it right up there with the Hall of Fame and the Beard Awards and all. But I actually will take an opportunity to tell you how much I look forward to these interviews every month. You are a very smart guy, and you ask very intelligent questions about barbecue. You're very thoughtful. Your mind is very wide-reaching, and I wish you all the success and even more success, because you deserve it. This is a fantastic show. So thank you. I'm honored.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And that is Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Famer and Barbecue Hall of Famer Stephen Raichlen. You find him right here the third Tuesday of each and every month. Stephen, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Good night, guys. Bye-bye.
There he is. Freshly minted Barbecue Hall of Famer Stephen Raichlen.
All guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
How about that?
Yummy.
Meathead with a great speech coming in. Stephen Raichlen with a great speech coming in. As soon as we have some more of these Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Famers, we'll make sure that we allot them their respective speech times. Hey, Cook Shack manufactures smoker ovens for barbecue lovers with any amount of experience. Whether you barbecue in the backyard, on the competition circuit, or in a 5-star dining facility, Cook Shack has the unit that will do the job. And with a full line of barbecue sauces, spices, pellets, and wood chunks, it's the perfect one-stop shop. Cook Shack strives to be your barbecue resource center by offering cooking classes, online recipes, how-to videos, 2 blogs, Smoke and Grilling 101s, and a video cooking classroom. Check out their website at cookshack.com or follow them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, or Google+. Get advice and share your passion for barbecue on their world-class barbecue forum. Cook Shack pellet-fired smokers are the choice of champions because they were designed by a champion, Ed Fast Eddie Moore. The FEC 100, PG 1000, always customer favorites. The PG 1000 can actually double as a smoker and a grill. Low and slow, hot and fast, the pellet grill line gives you the most for your money. Cook Shack Residential Electric Smokers, the #1 smoker in the industry, so if you don't like the pellet stuff, here's a great option for you. High quality means high durability and versatility. Anything you can make in your oven, you can make in a Cook Shack. Passion and dedication drives Cook Shack's manufacturing, with quality always being at the forefront. Get the best in barbecue since 1962. Call 800-423-0698. That's 800-423-0698. Or visit the website, cookshack.com. That's cookshack.com. All right, we're back with David Marks, Operation Barbecue Relief. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your #1 source for quality wood pellets for all of your pellet-driven cookers, Traegers, and Green Mountain Grills, and Louisianas, and Black Olives, Fast Eddies, Cook Shacks, you name it. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit amazon.com to purchase as well if you're not into buying from Cookin' Pellets. Don't forget, Cookin' Pellets does have a free app, so be sure to hit that up. Sometimes it alerts you when they have great shipping deals, so never fear. All right, my next guest, a competitive barbecue pitmaster for Wilbur's Revenge Barbecue Team, also owns Pitmasters LLC, which is a franchise of Famous Dave's Barbecue, and he is the Chief Marketing Officer and a board member for Operation Barbecue Relief. The weather events and natural disasters continue. This past week, Hurricane Michael hit the Florida Panhandle and was rated as the strongest storm to hit that side of the state ever. So, back for an update, our friend and CMO of OBR, David Marks. David, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous, Dave. Appreciate you making time for the show, as always. All right, so we are, is it roughly a week or so out from Michael impacting the Florida Panhandle, Mexico Beach, and points to the east, to the west, to the south. What's happening down there right now from a deployment situation?
So right now we actually have 2 separate locations, one in Tallahassee and one in Panama City. These guys are out there just hammering away, doing absolute amazing work. Today alone, we served just shy of 60,000 hot barbecue meals.
60,000?
Yeah, the actual number, if we're going to get technical, is 56,550.
Wow. That's
crazy.
Tremendous amount of food.
Tremendous, absolutely. And honestly, probably could use a couple more volunteers out there in our neck of the woods. These guys are just hammering it out. When you're kind of pushing through that kind of a volume, people are working real hard. And as you can imagine, the conditions are not exactly pristine.
So when did you guys actually start setting up shop and start rolling out those first meals?
So we actually arrived in Panama City and in Tallahassee on Thursday/Friday, depending on who you were, but really got in late Thursday night or Friday and started setting up. Things were pretty under control in Tallahassee, but we put some pork butts on the smoker, just tried to get rolling. We served 3,000 meals without even being set up in the parking lot at Panama City. People just starving.
So were you down there, Dave?
So I actually haven't gone down there yet. I have kind of played back half and been just handling a lot of the back of the half, back office stuff, if you will, water hookups, securing sites, insurance certificates, getting food in. So I haven't been down there, but the guys have been telling me whatever you see on the news, whatever you think, you know, it's worse than they've ever seen.
Yeah, because, I hate to start going in and comparing one hurricane to the next, but, remember last year was a terrific hurricane season. Texas was affected, obviously, the very southern part of Florida. And, I think it was that Irma that was like 500 miles wide or whatever. It was just an absolute huge storm. So from a devastation standpoint or an impact standpoint, is this one worse than what they had seen last year? Or, are we talking pretty close comparisons?
So, we just came out of Hurricane Florence in North Carolina and really saw similar flooding and that kind of stuff. I actually kind of somehow got involved in some active water rescue when I was delivering meals in a community. Just unbeknownst to me, things were happening. So that was very much like North Carolina. This is different than anything we've seen. This looks like a tornado and a hurricane. All these homes just blown off their foundations. In Hurricane Sandy, we saw that, but this is way different. The path, the swath that's been cut looks a lot like a massive tornado. And then, counties like Bay County, where Panama City is, their entire sewer system's gone. Verizon doesn't have a single cell phone working. They've lost their entire truck line. The infrastructure is devastated.
Is there any type of a lead time on when things are going to start to look somewhat normal, or is it so bad that there's just no way to put a timetable on it yet?
So if you're looking in like Tallahassee and those kind of places, power's being restored, things are starting to get better. Bay County, that Mexico Beach, Panama City Beach, Greg, I think these people are in for years.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow. David Marks joining me here on the show, Chief Marketing Officer for Operation Barbecue Relief. So, within the 24-hour time frame, you said you did close to 60,000 meals. From that first day to those 60,000 meals that we just talked about, where are you guys at total?
Just a few meals shy of 160,000.
Wow, tremendous!
And we're ramped up to do probably another 50 to 60,000 a day for the unforeseeable future.
From a volunteer's standpoint, you mentioned that you might need some labor to kind of rotate in there. How many folks have rotated in and out over the course of those 7-8 days or so?
So honestly, when we're trying to do this thing, we like to see on a site doing 30,000 meals a day, some function of like 100 volunteers. We're probably doing it right now with around 45 to 50. We have tapped some guys out. Some folks have already been real tired from the last deployment, have kind of come in and gone out. And, we have rotated probably a good 30 or 40 in and out at this point. Really in some of these areas, as people are starting to come back, some of the local volunteer bases starting to come in and fortify and supplement our troops. But honest to God, if you're hanging out, I've got a SCA contest this weekend that I'm going to have to back out on because I'm probably heading down there. So sometimes you just got to think about, like, what am I doing? What's really important? And how do I make a difference?
So you could use another 40 or 50 people at the site each and every day if you had, Utopia.
If we had Utopia, we could use another 50 people easy. We're struggling just because some of the things that are just harder than normal. 2 miles could take 2 hours around Panama City to go. So like a run to Lowe's or a run to go to Sam's Club, that normally you could be back in an hour, is taking 4 and 5 hours.
So when you're set up and you are cooking out this food and getting ready to serve, are you then taking it out to, points within a certain radius? Do people know that they just have to come to a particular spot where OBR is set up and then you can get food there? How does that operate?
So, Greg, that's a great question. We're actually doing some different things right now. We have kind of partnered with the Salvation Army, where they realized that we had much greater cooking capabilities than they have, and we've realized that they have better distribution capabilities than we have. So we're cooking food, they're distributing food. That's one branch of how we're getting food out into the community. We are still, as we always do, doing some meals available on site for people to come in and eat. So they can come in if they can get that hot meal right on site. We do large capacity pickup where people can come get 500, 1,000 meals for their church, or their community center, the fire department, if you will. And then one of the most important things that I will fight forever as part of Operation Barbecue Leaf to never lose hold of, and that is get our folks in our vehicles out into the community, handing out that one important meal that makes a difference in somebody's life. And we start to become numb with how big these numbers have gotten over the years and how much we can really kick out. So it's really important to me that we always keep close to us that individual personal touch where we're out there with our volunteers handing out single meals.
David Marks joining me here on the show, Operation Barbecue Relief. Obviously, if you are moved listening to this here live or on podcast, please hit up the website, operationbbqrelief.org, and then crash that donate button. No amount is too big. Absolutely no amount is too big. So please give freely, give openly, give early and often, because that's I don't want to speak for you, Dave, but I believe in past conversations we've said, what helps the most? A lot of people want to show up with a grill or, 15 pork butts or something, but cash infusion is typically in these scenarios the best things to do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, like right now, the reality is I am in search of trying to secure 4 truckloads of number 10 cans worth of vegetables. Just so we can keep up with the sides. 4 tractor trailer loads. We're talking about, 80 pallets of number 10 cans. We can buy that a lot better than you can bring us a number 10 can, as long as we have, that purchasing power and those donations. We can make that go really far.
There were 2 really good promo pieces on Operation Barbecue Relief recently. One, I believe, was through people.com. And then there was this other 60-second video documentary. You're actually part of that one. So that was probably the North Carolina one you were just referencing.
Yes, sir.
As the marketing officer, how do you track what kind of impact those pieces have for the organization? Is it visible? Is it trackable? Or is it just good to have the name out there and see what you guys are doing?
So, that's really interesting. The first thing I can tell you right off the bat is the 60-second doc video, which is actually 3 minutes long, came out 2 days ago. It was made public 2 days ago, and it already has 185,000 views.
Wow.
So I would start off with just saying that, and that's people who watched it. It didn't come through somebody's feed. That's 185,000 views. So I can tell you this: I've never been able to do anything like that. That's incredible. So those things are really valuable. As Operation Barbecue Relief continues to grow, things like people.com, the People magazine, that's so much. The depth and the breadth is so much further out than we've gotten over the years, and I appreciate everything that Barbecue Central show's done for us, and that others have done, and the different things that people have done to help us get our name out there. But with that being said, this is so wide and so deep. It's America. It's not barbecue anymore, and we will always be barbecue at the core. But these kind of opportunities where we get put out there in the forefront outside of barbecue really is what's going to continue to grow what we do and make it possible for us to do more for people. People in barbecue, we use the terminology that people have donation fatigue. So many in the barbecue world have already done so much for us that, it's hard to continue to go back and ask everybody. It is for me. I feel terrible when you ask somebody who just spent 2 or 3 weeks away to come back again. And this really allows us to grow.
So when somebody sees that isn't within the barbecue community or is just being introduced to OBR at that point, and now they're ready to say, hey, how do I become a volunteer, or how do I become eligible for deployment? What's that process?
So the process is actually continuing to get better as we continue to grow as well. We've got a new chief technology officer who's really introduced a lot of great technology for us. You can always go on the website and register as a volunteer or donate. But we actually have an app now. Where you can go on, download the app on the Play Store, iTunes, whatever, and download that app. And then you can go in and register on that app. And then you can go literally sign up for shifts that you want to participate in. So, this weekend there's the Kansas City Marathon. People could sign up to work at the marathon. People can sign up to work shifts in Tallahassee or Panama City. And actually, I'm going to announce, this is crazy, but we're actually opening up another deployment effective tomorrow in South Texas because there's flooding going on.
Yeah.
So, we are really pushing our resources, and technology is what's going to allow us to continue to do that as well.
I do want to give you a minute or two, if you want, to mention any of the big name sponsors and partners that OBR works with, because, for all the times you've been on, I don't know if we've really paid a huge amount of attention to them, but they're obviously a very integral part of the whole success.
Integral part. So I can tell you right off the bat a couple really cool things today, and it's probably a little bit too late at this point, but Sonny's Barbecue's donating 10% of all their sales from today.
Wow.
Yeti Coolers is going to be donating sales from a specific day in an upcoming week or two, as they did for us last year after Hurricane Harvey. Blue Rhino continues to be incredible, providing us with propane, showing up, getting us fuel when we need it. I don't even know where to stop with Seaboard Foods. Ultimately, Prairie Fresh and Butterball, I don't believe we've had a bill for any food that they've sent us. It's just over the top incredible. They are amazing. And there's more, the Lowe's Foundation has given us some money. We just got a grant from Duke Energy literally today. I could continue to go on. These companies, when you say it takes a village, a lot of times they tell us how proud of us that they are. And I tell them, look, it takes a village, and you guys live in our village. We can't do it without you.
David Marks joining me here on the show. From a fundraiser's standpoint, aside from people just going and donating personally, do you have events coming up here before the year closes out that would benefit OBR?
We have we do. Thanks for asking, Greg. At the World Food Championships, we have a great event coming up, and you can buy tickets to a dinner event, the Blue Skies event at the World Food Championships, where we have 5 world-class chefs coming in preparing dinner. Love to have you at the World Food Championships at our event. Really going to be an amazing event for dinner during that time. I believe it is on Thursday night. I apologize if I'm wrong, during the World Food Championships.
All right, so check that out. We're talking with David Marks. He is the Chief Marketing Officer for Operation BBQ Relief, also a pretty damn good competitive barbecue cook when he gets a chance to get out there. And please visit the website, operationbbqrelief.org. Again, go ahead and smash that donate button and do it till it hurts, because the cash helps the quickest because they know what they're doing. David, always appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much for doing it.
Hey, thank you so much. We appreciate all you do for barbecue.
You got it. There he is, David Marks. Wilbur's Revenge Pitmaster, if you need him.
All guests appear via the Traeger Grills hotline.
Chief Marketing Officer for Operation BBQ Relief. Once again, operationbbqrelief.org. That's operationbbqrelief.org. Hit the donate button and make a cash donation right now during the show. Help them out. Tallahassee, they are in right now, and as he had just mentioned, they're getting ready to head down to Texas for deployment down there. I'd actually gotten an email from Texas embedded correspondent Doug Scheiding saying that the 2018 Smokin' Blues and Barbecue Festival had been canceled, or has been canceled, because of adverse weather conditions. So that's Duncanville, Texas. So it's getting bad down there again, and they will be opening up a new deployment. That's Operation BBQ Relief. Again, please go ahead and donate. as you see fit. OperationBBQRelief.org. That's OperationBBQRelief.org. Let me talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. If you're looking for a pellet cooker that you can take on tailgates in the middle of football season, or you just like to camp and you want some pellet-fired goodness instead of charcoal or something else, or gas, then you want to look at the Davy Crockett. Folks, this thing actually holds a tremendous amount of food for the size, and for the portability, you just can't beat it. If you don't have access to a traditional power outlet, don't worry. You can use your 12-volt outlet that's in your car, and you're off and running. Plus, again, pellet-fired, so the flavor is there. Now, if you want something a little bit bigger, a little more for the backyard type stuff, no problem. They got the Jim Bowie, which is the big boy, and then they got the Daniel Boone, which is medium size. So depending on what size family you have, or maybe you're just the guy or gal that likes to have the biggest one that any manufacturer offers, so that's the Jim Bowie. If you like to be a little bit more economical, you want something that isn't too big but can accommodate the bigger cooks if you need to get them, the Daniel Boone is the one you're going to want to take a look at. Now, here's the great stuff. Accessories, right? They got rubs and sauces, hooks and spatulas and all that stuff that goes together with the Green Mountain Grills, no matter what model you get. But the Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone can also accommodate that pizza oven insert for like $130 or less. That's something you're definitely going to want to take a look at. Just rip the guts out of those cookers, drop down the pizza oven insert, and away you go. It's pizza party time. You can turn out pizzas in as little as 2 to 3 minutes, depending on what you're cooking at. Here's the rule of thumb. Set your cooker at 350 degrees, and then in the oven, it's roughly double at the stone, so about 700. I prefer in that 320 range. That's just me, but if you want to ramp it all the way up to 1,000 degrees, set that cooker for 500, and away you go. All right, that is greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. Long-time sponsor of the show. Truly appreciated. Jason Baker and the gang out there. What's happening? And we'll be back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, thanks again to David Marks, Operation BBQ Relief's Chief Marketing Officer. Again, he's also the pitmaster of Wilbur's Revenge barbecue team, and he owns a handful of Famous Dave barbecue joints under the Pitmaster LLC company name, which is a Famous Dave's franchisee. If you want to donate to Operation BBQ Relief, as I have been mentioning, OperationBBQRelief.org. Again, that's OperationBBQRelief.org. Smash the donate button and then go ahead and donate whatever it is you can possibly donate. As he was saying, and as a point of reference, Centralite Jeff Stone is actually down there at Ground Zero. This is the look out of his front out of the front of his house. And as David was saying, it looks like a tornado coupled with a hurricane rolled through and created that kind of damage. And that's what Jeff is looking at out of the front of his house. So Jeff, glad to know you're okay, but it looks like there's a tremendous amount of cleanup to be done. A lot of wood right there. A lot of wood. But look at that. I mean, it's just all blown over. Wow. Jeff and everybody else, stay positive out there. Glad you made it through. And again, if you're looking to help and you're listening here to the show live, or you want to go after podcast and help out, because donations don't have to be just now during the live show between 9 and 11. They can be done at any time and at any point that it makes sense for you. OperationBBQRelief.org. That's OperationBBQRelief.org. Go to my Facebook page and watch that 60-second video documentary, which again is about 3 minutes long. And see, David's in that one. So good to see him out there. But really gives you an idea of what's going into a day's operation and where they're getting out to, handing off meals, and then most importantly, seeing the recipients' faces. It seems far-fetched that one hot barbecue meal, a pulled pork sandwich with a great side, is something that can change somebody's outlook. But why do we gather around the dinner table? Why do we associate some of the most important times of our lives with food? Because it has that effect. So help them out. OperationBBQRelief.org. That's OperationBBQRelief.org. We're back for the second hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.